Dave needs to do something under the He has to do that, probably.
Well,
Ready?
Yeah, we don't need Dave.
No.
I mean, we do.
All right, we'll call it to order. At, 5:30 PM. First discussion, discuss the possibility of renaming some public facility, roadway or portion thereof in recognition of the support from prominent village residents, not in memoriam. And I think this is you brought this
I brought
up.
this up. And actually, I think this was also, Jeannie, that you kind of mentioned as well. The Schneiders have given quite a bit to our community over the years, whether it be financially or their volunteerism. And I just believe we should have something in this community that recognizes the amount of things that they've done. And not that, we're talking about a policy, but I'm using them as an example. It doesn't have to be a monetary amount, any kind of policy. I'm just looking at, could we do something that recognizes these individuals and then have some kind of policy in place that for the future, if something comes up, if there's a prominent person or they've done something, whether it be for the parks or whatever. I mean, we have a lot of things that are already named, but we don't really know why they're named. Fortunately, I have a young 12-year-old who spent some time with our neighbors who gave him the history of a lot of why things are named in the village the way they are, why streets are named, what they're named after, parks and that sort of thing. But it would be nice also maybe to work maybe a little bit with the Historical Society eventually on logging why things are named the way they are, starting at this point saying we've named this particular facility after this person or a street after this person, and here's why. And I think we should.
That needs to be documented. You know, like
Yeah.
we got Nye Street, and I think he was a pretty influential person, but
Yes.
Who would
why?
remember that? That's
You know,
so
Senator
why?
Nye.
Yeah.
So I've got data from the Historical Society that shows bits and pieces, and I think we need to get someone to put that together, and that is a volunteer kind of thing. That's not a village board kind of thing. But I look at this and go, here we're sitting here going, should we name something after someone? We don't have a policy in place, and that's because of when was the last time we named something after someone? But secondly, if we do, we need to log why so that we don't overwrite.
So I wouldn't take away from what is currently named, such as Nye Street, even though nobody knows anything about it. But to address your point further, maybe on the Hortonville website, somebody could take some time to
Yeah.
put something on there about why these, why these are named that way. I would agree.
Like Nye, I can come up with exactly why it's named after Nye.
It's after the Nye family.
After Senator Nye.
Yeah.
And he was from Hortonville. Like I said, fortunately, I have a young man that sat down and got some history on what is Dewey Street? Why is this street? I mean, why is it Miller Park? Why is it Otto Miller Park?
Right.
What's the difference between the two? Well, this
Right.
is named after two ladies, Oliver, isn't it two? I mean, so we need to, this is so many different folds, but what I'd really like to do tonight is let's look at maybe creating some kind of policy, and let's maybe look at, could we recognize some individuals that are, that have done a lot for our community, that are up in age and are currently, their life is changing right now, and I'd like to do something where they're still alive to recognize that.
Well-
I think that's fair.
We already have a policy.
Is this the actual or
well,
no?
no, I put that together.
Oh, you did?
So this is
Yeah.
recent, yeah.
And it's pretty basic. It kind of goes along with what we've informally done in the past. If you look at Memorial Square, even though we had a large donation to get that Memorial Square kicked off, I stood fast and I said we weren't going to name it
Right.
after that guy.
Yep.
We were going to call it Memorial Square.
But Jason Quinn's picture is
But
there
Jason
in a
Quinn-
discrete
The
page.
monument that's the Jason Quinn monument, but it's in Memorial Square. So, yeah. So there's always,
What about the clock down here in town? That's a
it was donated by the Schneiders, but we don't necessarily,
Call it Schneider
it
Square.
doesn't have a name.
Right.
And I think me and Jeannie and me and Julie in the emails back and forth, we tried to find something worthy of Schneiders. And one of the best ones we came up with
Right here.
was the
Right here
ballroom.
was the
That's where they stuck most of their money.
Well, and
It was a gym, but it wasn't always a gym.
it wasn't always
No,
a
it
gym.
was a
And
ballroom.
it was a whole bunch of different things and why it was built and everything else. And I actually dug through some stuff, and I'm not going to bore everybody with it, but if somebody wanted to read the history of it. But I look at the community. The community created this building, but this building over the years, that's where they've put their money. And they have such an amazing, they're amazing people, but they're very humble people. And I have to think, what would they accept? I don't know if they would never be okay with renaming a street if it was taking away someone else's name. I know
Right.
they would never be okay with
Right.
that. I know marketing-wise, we've talked about the Opera House, and I've personally walked through, on occasion, like a potential bride and groom. Okay, so let's walk them through, and they come in and go, oh, this isn't a gym at all. We have it labeled as a gym. Maybe we use this as an opportunity to look at this and go, what if we call it what it currently can be used as? It could be used as a ballroom. It can be used
Right.
as whatever you want to call it. But I think if we could call it like the Robert and Ann Schneider Ballroom or the Schneider Ballroom or something, it actually adds, to me, marketing, it adds something a little classier to that room, because that room has a lot of class.
Keep the building the Opera House.
Correct, because it's always been,
That's the way it was built.
yes.
That's the name on the front of it.
That's the name
that's
of
the
the
name of the
front. I'm
front.
not looking at renaming a building, but I think something that we just refer to as the gym could simply be. Now, would they accept it? I don't know.
I don't think we give an opportunity. I think
No,
we
you
just
just
call it,
do it.
we're going to call
We
it.
just do it.
And you know what? Do it indiscreetly. Have a little dedication ceremony that they aren't even aware of. Invite them down here to the
Yeah.
floor and have a little cake and
Then it's done.
social, and
And it's already done.
it's already done.
I think that's,
And have a bronze
I
plaque.
agree with you. Absolutely. I just think that they are the kind of folks that they're never gonna say, well, it'd be nice to have something with a name on around here. They're never gonna say that.
No.
But I think they have put so much money. I do even have a tally of what they've paid.
Okay.
It's in the thousands.
Well,
Tens of thousands,
you
I
know,
think.
like you said, aside from financial, just their wisdom and spirit over
Just-
the years, helping
Oh my
So-
gosh.
He was on the board
on the
way
board
back.
forever.
Yeah, he was.
You know, that he was there when they created the parks. You know.
Yeah, the Schneider feet.
If anybody's worthy of a name in this town,
Yeah.
besides Alonzo Horton, probably more so. I mean, he was carpetbagger.
And he bailed. He left.
Yeah.
And he left.
He kept going.
He left.
Carpetbagger.
Yeah, he was.
He left.
He had to go to San Diego.
Yeah, to go to San Diego. I mean, and they've got the gas lantern district down there, all about Alonzo and everything. It's the whole gas lantern, which is amazing. We have so many things. We have Alonzo Park, we have Miller Park, we have all these things, but I just think this building in particular, we have a golden opportunity to change something from the gym,
So what do you want to call it?
the Schneider Ballroom, or the Robert and Ann Schneider Ballroom, but we could just, in short, I think Robert and Ann
Like on here,
Schneider.
it would just say ballroom. We'd get rid
Ballroom.
of that gym. That's got to go.
But I'd like to say both of their names, Robert and
Right.
Ann
I would agree.
Schneider Ballroom. And if somebody wants to make it a little fancy, they could call it the Schneider Ballroom. But I mean, I just think that marketing-wise for the village is, and they wanted nothing more than to see this building continue on. I've read through old papers that when the building was for sale and Fred Bearwall was going to buy it, all these things that were happening, they fought tooth and nail to keep this building.
So is there something other than the word ballroom that's a little bit more?
I tried thinking, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, like. Field house? No, it's not field house. That's sports
Trying to get away
me.
from that, yeah.
I'm thinking like,
Let me look, synonyms of ballroom. We'll just-
Yeah.
I thought of that. I'm like, is there something a
Thinking
little
like,
less
Between
arts.
gym and ballroom?
between gym and
Something between those
Hall.
two?
I just know that when I've walked through potential renters here, every single one of them has said, this isn't a gym at all.
yeah.
And I think looking
It
at the
was at
fee
one time.
schedule, it was, and the scoreboard's up there, but I think when you look at the fee schedule and you see gym, and if I'm not familiar with Hortonville and somebody recommended the place, I'm not renting a gym.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would rather rent a ballroom.
So what's the synonym?
I'm looking, I'm doing thesaurus here, so, synonym,
A what?
okay.
I kind of like ballroom, though. I mean,
I-
that's up to you.
Hall, auditorium, concert hall, dance hall, opera house, amphitheater, variety theater, vaudeville theater, Hippodrome?
Yeah, Hippodrome.
Hippodrome.
There you go.
Yeah, that would be a mouthful.
Yeah, that would be.
Gee, that wouldn't,
That'd leave everybody.
I'm kidding.
something
What is
else.
that?
Paul isn't so bad, but it's kind of blah.
I just,
Ballroom is what
I think
most,
I think a ballroom, when I think of, when
for
I,
weddings,
And I would agree, a ballroom would be more marketable if you're trying
As
to
a
bring.
bride.
Yeah,
Definitely,
Right.
I would go for a ballroom if I was a bride.
we rented, our wedding was at the Radisson in Green Bay, and we rented the Iroquois Ballroom. I remember that. It's just a big empty room
Right.
with a kitchen off to the side, but it was the ballroom. And I get it, we probably, this meeting, are we coming up with I don't even know, when I look at the agenda, we could possibly do it here, but it's not on the board agenda for tomorrow night.
You
doesn't
just
have-
make a recommendation.
we just make a recommendation to the board.
Okay.
So the recommendation is made by you that we remain the upper level,
Upper.
first floor, not the basement level.
And not the mezzanine.
Robert and Ann, or Ann and Robert?
I would say Robert and
Robert.
you know what?
Is that with an E or just A&M?
Alphabetical?
It's A&N. You know what I'm going to do? They gave us an index card yesterday with their new address. Let me ask my kids how they wrote it.
All right.
Let me ask Grace. I'll carry on. I'm just going to hear. I'm just going to text my daughter because there's an index card. They actually wrote their new address down and gave it to us on an index
Okay.
card.
There's a
So-
proper way of doing it.
Yeah, there is. There is a proper way.
There's a proper way, but if they preferred a certain
I
way,
think it's the mail first.
We could stencil up there Robert and Ann Schneider Ballroom, but it can be informally known as the Schneider Ballroom.
Right.
yeah, just
Yeah.
To save
Or
reading.
AKA.
Yeah.
Let's do Robert and Ann Schneider Ballroom, or the Schneider Ballroom, either.
yeah. I like the full name just because it
Yeah.
recognizes them specifically.
Right, and not their offspring. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Well, it recognizes Robert and Ann Schneider.
Right.
And Grace will
Personally.
take a picture and how they wrote it on there because they just gave us their new address.
Okay.
So I think that if that takes care of that, do you need a motion for that?
No, we just take it to the board for recommendation.
no, I think a formal
They're bad,
motion,
you know.
a motion to bring it to the board.
Okay, I'll make a motion to rename the Opera House Gym to the Robert and Ann Schneider Ballroom.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion made. Discuss and review the current rental agreement for the Opera House and Community Center.
Yeah, I'll start out a little bit. We might have came out a little bit strong, but what we want to do is clean out these rental rates for
Right.
both facilities. They're just so convoluted and it's punitive to rent at one place. We tried to keep people out of there by pushing them over here, but there's things that people are renting this for that would be better suited over there. We have conflicts because if you're having a big wedding, they're coming in the day before setting up, they're cleaning up the day after, and we've got conflict with people that rent on Sundays. So
No one rents the dining area.
Well,
they use it, but they don't rent it.
right,
Correct.
here's the
Correct.
issue, and I've run into this. We're upstairs with a big band, and there are people down here holding church services, and they're upset because we're making too much noise. So what I'd like to do is, when you rent the facility, you rent the whole building.
I think so.
Exactly.
And you have your choice of using either one or both of the facilities.
I agree with
I
you,
agree with that,
Peter.
but I don't agree with taking the whole weekend.
No, I don't agree
Well,
with
not the
that.
whole weekend. Let's
That's where we were having
That's where it's
problems,
being proposed, and I know where you're going with this because of,
though. They say they're renting it for 4 hours, and
no, I don't like the
Never-
4
I
hours.
don't think 4 hours, you either rent it for the day or you don't rent
I would
it, in
agree.
my
Well,
opinion.
We have people rent for Saturday. They'll come in on Friday later at night
Yep.
to do their setup, not pay for that, and then they'll come in on Sunday to do cleanup. And sometimes people don't come in on Sunday right away in the morning and clean up, and I have another booking there. So then we get called.
I get you're having
I
problems.
get that. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I think we're going to lose people renting it at all if you force them to pay a crazy amount for an entire weekend when they're using it
well, I'd see
for
we
one
don't have
day.
to pay those.
I'm not, I mean,
We need to reduce those rates.
I'm not set on the rates. I don't care.
And
Well, let's start at the beginning, and we'll carry this on. I want to know if everybody's in agreement that you rent it for the whole day, first of all, instead of 4-hour
I agree.
blocks.
Yes.
I agree.
Do you agree?
I don't
And I
think there's
agree
such
with
thing
the
as 4
whole
hours.
building.
The whole building?
I agree with that as well.
Okay, so now let's move on.
Every time we keep a deposit, these people will go to the board, and there's a historical, the board would give them the money back. So there is always, if I got to call a guy in to come in and clean up because these people don't clean up,
That's
we
an
lose
issue.
money. We lost money. We've lost money multiple times this year.
I agree with you.
We're not in the business here to lose money.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So here's my question. Is it typically the weddings that are coming in the day before and leaving the day after?
Yes.
So then can't we put wording in there and saying if you're using it for a wedding, I've been to places
Whole
that
weekend.
have put that in, like hotels, if this is for a wedding, you rent the whole weekend. That's what it is.
We could
If
probably
it's a
do that.
shower, you're probably not having the same issues because it's a 3-hour gig, not an all-day
I
event.
agree with you, because there's times when you rent something, if for a wedding, I understand there's Friday night and there's Sunday cleanup. Nobody wants to haul their butt out of bed on Sunday.
Well, there's also the fact of catering. If we're going to do a wedding, which we have done here, we would come in on a Friday and prep some of that stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so that, in that respect, I like that plan, that if it's a wedding, you're going to take it for the whole weekend. That's a Friday noon,
Or if it's an event, a wedding, and a type of event that would require Friday setup, Sunday cleanup. Because that's very clear, because it might not be a wedding, but it might be something,
An all-day event on Saturday requires a 3-day rental.
I agree.
An all-day Saturday event requires a 3-day rental.
Case in point, our Mardi Gras coming up in the 28th, I think, or 22nd of February. We're going to set up on Friday and clean up, or, decorate. It goes till like midnight on Saturday, starts at like 6 with hors d'oeuvres and gambling. We're going to have Sunday to clean up.
Yeah.
So we're going to have
But you're
to
still
have.
setting up Friday night,
Right.
Saturday morning
so it's not
until
a wedding.
people walk in the door.
But you pay that full
See, we
weekend.
had
Correct. It's a special event, just like a wedding, where it requires us to have the whole weekend to do it.
I think we had a shower on a Sunday, and they flipped out because there was booze and garbage everywhere from the wedding.
That's my point. If you have a wedding,
But the shower
But
was
if the
here
shower
because we
books it
have
first,
punitive
then
fees.
you're,
then it's
Then you-
unavailable for the wedding.
Yeah, it's
I
not
mean,
available.
okay.
Or you have, and not giving you extra work. This is not giving you
No,
extra
I
work. Or there's an opportunity where you see that is the community center available to be rented on the weekends?
100% of the time, and it's never booked.
Okay.
Which is the other
But that's-
issue.
See if they
that-
could move
That's the other thing that we wanted to do.
I don't want my baby showers here. I want them here. That you're going to run into that.
That might
So-
be, but also when you're paying $500 to rent
But-
out the community center,
That was
For-
built by the
We need to look
community
at
to be
that.
used by the community.
Free of charge.
At the time, it was free of charge. And the other part of it is, I have a list of donators in here, and this is a community, it was the community hall, but I know that if I was told that I had to pay $400 to rent it for a baby shower, and I was told, but you could do it at the community, or at the municipal center, I'm just going to go somewhere else. There are people, this was a referendum, there were people who had to vote whether or not we wanted the new building. Lots of people have voted no. It was voted yes, clearly it's built, but there's still, there's something about this building. We used it for my dad's funeral. Now, granted, we used it one day, we used it on a Friday. It was not a wedding event, it wasn't anything like that. I would have never had it at the municipal center. He said, I want the sit and talk and eat and part of a funeral, no casket, and do it in that old opera, or in the old community hall with the beautiful windows.
There's other people that do it the other way. I mean,
They prefer it the
Susie
other way.
Mann was at the
Yes.
community center,
Right.
so
Everyone
I
has
think
their
it's a
own
preference,
taste.
right?
Only because this was booked.
I have a lot of people who come in from outside this community as well, though, that would like the new community center. And the issue's the price.
Yeah.
Well, then we look at the
Can we look
rates.
at the price for the community
No,
center?
that's kind of,
Yeah, we need,
our goal is to kind of,
we need to make sure both places are as full as often as possible.
that's the goal.
Another
Right?
thing that,
Yep.
have they ever
Yeah.
said anything about the setup of the tables, that those are just permanent? Has that
No,
ever been an issue?
No, not
for renting?
necessarily.
That brings up.
Because that'd be
I mean,
nice if we-
the issue is, we have people who rent on the weekends, they'll only rent the activity room because they know that, A, we're not going to close off the room, and no one else will rent the boardroom. So they get the whole room for the price of the they do their 4 hours
We need
for
to do
their.
away with that activity room, boardroom stuff. The only time we
Take
double
room.
book it is government activities.
Exactly.
It's a room similar to, this
Those
is a
are buildings
building.
that have booked it, like library board, we've
Yeah.
met there, where there's been other, I mean, I just think that prices can be looked at. I just think about what needs to be available for the folks in this community. I know that if somebody saw that they had to rent it for the full weekend, I think that would immediately deter them, but I don't think it would deter them to go to the municipal center. If somebody wanted this building for some kind of event, they want this building.
And I agree with you, because I've been to plenty of showers and baby and bridal that have been in buildings and rooms similar to what's at the community center versus being upstairs. If you're going to go upstairs, if you're going to have something upstairs for a baby or bridal, it's because you really want it and you're willing to pay that dollar amount for it.
But you're not going to pay
But you're not going to pay
$400.
$400 for the community center.
No.
So I think
For
the
the whole
pricing
weekend.
is the issue with the community center.
Okay, so
How is that pricing determined
I determined, well,
No.
for the community center?
This has been.
It was set up
That
by
was
a
previous.
previous administrator.
Okay.
Make it
So-
punitive to force people over here.
Yeah.
can I add something
That
here?
was the initial.
We have a lot of different topics
Yeah, we do.
to discuss.
Yeah.
What I personally like to do is stay away from the pricing right now. We'll take that later. Let's establish the format of how you're going to lease this property out or the other one. That first, then we'll get into the pricing. Because right now, we have two
Yeah.
properties
Yep.
and multitude of opportunities. Everybody agree?
Absolutely agree.
Otherwise, we might be here, and I don't want to miss the Packer game tomorrow night.
So Peter, just a question for you.
Yeah, we got another
So
meeting.
You had on here for the November thing, the craft fair. So that's an example,
No,
just a
no.
Saturday, a few years ago.
Oh, you're-
Where the November craft fair.
Wasn't it something you had here?
Yeah, it
So
was
that would be
before-
a one-day thing.
Yeah, it was
And-
before we moved it over to the high school, or the
Right.
grade school, now the high school.
But do you think, that would be an example of you
That's
only
a
need it for the one day.
Right.
Well, and we talked about the whole facility, but then I go into, so we know the American Legion has uses this building, it's part of their agreement. So I would hate to say that the whole building's not available if the Legion is
Right.
holding something down here. If somebody wanted to hold something upstairs, let's take inner and outer strength, for example.
Well, they would still rent the whole
It's-
building. We'll just tell them that they can't, the Legion's going to be downstairs.
The Legion
But
only
it's-
rents
in
once a
essence,
year.
they get the whole building. It's just that the Legion's going to be doing
Yeah,
whatever they do.
by the way,
prices.
would it bother you, the Legion has a meeting downstairs at that time? Because it might be somebody who just needs the.
Before they rent it, you tell them that, so
Yeah.
that they can make a decision on whether or not, they have a pre-existing.
And it's for an hour or two or whatever.
And in turn, the Legion has to be okay with the fact that there potentially is noise upstairs.
Okay, so as far as renting this whole building, if it's a wedding or by determining whether it's an event that requires the whole weekend rental,
Extended hours.
yeah, such as our event that we're going to hold, that we're going to have in February?
Can that be on the application? Like,
Determined.
do you,
Put the number of hours.
do you need it to be in there Friday and do you need to be in there Sunday? If so, it's automatic full weekend rental. Then they,
I don't
won't
think
admit
they'll
that.
lie, then they'll lie.
They're gonna lie.
They do it all the time. They lie to me all the time.
They say they're going to clean up Saturday
oh, wouldn't it be nice to have a
Yeah.
fob that only works for certain days? And be
You
like,
can.
you have a disposable fob, you can, yeah.
You can do that.
That's expensive. You're like, oh, your fob only works one day, sorry.
We can determine the nature of the event and determine if it,
Yeah.
An application, you fill out an application, you want to rent the facility.
They should just describe the event. We can
They
go
would-
through and.
they already do.
Yeah, we can determine.
kind of like a
based on that.
special event
Describe
permit. We
the event.
determine
Yeah.
the parameters there.
Right. Okay, so
What are you thinking?
Yeah,
So in these cases, if they rent for the whole weekend, if it's like a wedding and they don't do proper cleanup, what is the deposit for that?
$200 tops.
Maybe we should raise that, because if you have to hire
So
somebody.
you'll never get anybody over $200.
Yeah. It's $100 a floor as of right now for the Opera House. For the community center, it's way more.
Here's a better question. What's our cost to clean up after?
Well, $200 down the drain. If I got to give somebody a phone call, have them come in here.
Yep.
Well,
Every
maybe
time.
not $200,
Depends what
but
kind of mess you
Around.
walk into.
yeah.
yeah.
Also,
Well, it's
So you
2
can't
hours of
really
overtime.
determine that.
I got to pay 2 hours
Employee.
overtime. Just
Right.
call somebody to have them come out here and look and see what's going on.
I mean,
Why-
that's the base. That's your fixed
Yeah,
cost. is
yeah,
$200.
that's not the, whatever, then you got
Whatever.
angry people and then, there's always conflict when there's weddings, always.
But if it's a wedding and they had to do it for the full weekend, that also gives them that full day Sunday that they know that they can clean it up.
Well, we don't have to gig them for 3 days of rental if it's a wedding. We can have the full weekend price, maybe it's a,
What I did
one
is
and a
I
half times a day
I would
price.
reduce the
Yeah.
What
daily
I
rate
did
for a
for
weekend.
the
I know we're not supposed to
weekend
talk about
money,
prices.
I just did the full day and then the 4 hours twice is how I determined close to what the,
So
Weekend.
275?
no, yeah, 275 and then the 200,
Deposit?
well, that's just the gym. That's
Okay.
the issue, is
Oh, okay.
everyone just looks at the gym but I'm
They
including
take
the
advantage of the dining area because they're up in the gym.
Yeah.
And the
gym,
kitchen,
4
and the
hours.
natural gas that they
So-
use in the ovens, and, yeah.
That's how I
And the
came
chairs
up
and
with
tables, like,
around the 400 mark was based off of these numbers here and kind of,
Okay. So I know, Peter, you didn't want to talk prices, but what you're talking about now is you're just kind of determining, we're talking about what's a fair deposit that would still cover your cost. I think we would see less of people leaving a mess if they had all day Sunday to clean. If they know that they had all day Sunday to come back, who wants to wake up after a wedding and oh man, I'm supposed to have that cleaned out last night. We'll just do a quick rush. We'll just get in there quick and clean. Versus we have to have that clean by, say, 7 p.m. tonight or 8 p.m. tonight. We have to have it. That's a very different
By midnight last
situation.
night, so.
So what if we
Midnight.
just charge them a cleanup cost and not a deposit?
then you,
Because then they're going to really leave a mess. They won't even try then.
Because then they'll just assume that it's
It's not
clean.
like we have time. I don't have guys just standing around waiting to come
Or,
down here and clean.
here's your deposit, but in that agreement, if it's left a mess, then, and you had to call someone in, then it's in the agreement that we charge them what you had to pay an employee to come in. Because if that's 2 hours overtime,
Won't work. We've tried that.
you've tried
Well,
that.
that's cheap. Oh, I only got to pay $150 just to clean that up.
I think actually the deposit is fine, mostly.
Does it
I mean,
mostly usually work?
most of the times it does.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They
most
want
of the
their money
times
back.
they've missed a few things. So like they've done everything. It's usually the gym floor that's not wiped. So then we
Mopped or
have
whatever.
mopped. So then we have to have someone come down here and do it
Right.
on Monday.
Which could
But
take 3 or 4 hours.
the only issue is those Saturday to Sunday issues. So if you solve that issue,
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
primarily the weddings that is
exactly.
The bigger
floor not
events.
mopped,
So the
right?
other question is, do we
or
just,
the graduation parties was
Yeah.
the last.
Those are bigger
Yeah.
events, right? I mean, those are,
so have we ever, okay, not trying to make extra work, but it's just a thought. If I got a phone call on a Monday morning and said, we just checked out the Opera House and it's not clean like it's supposed to be, and we're going to have to withhold your deposit, I'd have my tail down there cleaning, or I'd send someone to help clean.
Too late.
I would be like too late.
Too late?
Julie, we have people renting this now on
On Mondays.
No, we got In and Outer Strength that's here on Monday, and they're
Yeah.
gonna, I mean, I get
He
that.
washes his under his.
Yeah, and I
stuff
get that, but-
typically if
Primarily,
it's
Gosh.
he's doing the cleanup on Sundays because it's never been adequate. Sean's up there right now. I can go grab him. He'll tell you. Every time there's a wedding here, he's mopping the floor before he's putting his floor back down. It's
People
not
don't
adequate.
stick their
Yeah.
feet and
So-
ruin an ankle.
Yeah,
So he's the one paying the price on it.
Yeah.
You know, essentially. That's why, honestly, I defend what Nathan has tried to do here by making it a weekend rental.
I think we're pretty much in
I
agreement.
agree with
with
weekend
that.
rental.
Yeah.
For like
But-
weddings
but
and big
not-
events, but-
Not a shower or a Cub Scout meeting or a,
A shower or a
Whatever.
Cub Scout should get pushed back to the other building. I know Diane probably wanted it down here.
We were
And my-
trying to
my-
promote this.
The board at the time was trying to push this building more. However, it backfired. We're not renting out the community center. I think we need to look at the prices whenever we do that, but
Where I'm
But-
at with it, guys, is Carl sees the bills. This facility,
do you have the numbers? Do you have
to heat
the,
it and
data?
care for it is ridiculous compared to the other one where we have floor scrubbers and it's easy in, easy out, and it's
don't you have that floor scrubber here yet?
but I don't think we
No,
can
that
mandate
floor
people
scrubber
have
costs
to
like
have a
$4,000.
shower
No,
in the
but
community
you can make
center.
it-
I know we can make it more appealing to them, right?
not
I
many
get
people
that.
decorate for a shower or,
How many showers
Oh, yeah,
have
they
you been
do.
to?
not, well, I mean, yeah, put some,
Oh, no.
I don't know, we had a shower in there for my niece, and it was beautiful.
Yes.
No, I'm
And
just
it can be
saying,
beautiful.
you can
At the
decorate.
community center.
Yeah.
Yeah, it cost us, but
But if somebody told me that I had to go to the community
I
center.
couldn't have it
because
here.
That's not the community I live in. The community I live in was the kind of community where we built a building so that we could use it for the community. And if I'm being told I have to pay $400 to use it for a baby shower, that's not the kind of community that we are. That's not who we are.
No, that's why this needs to be looked at.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because
That's
this
just
is
not who we are.
ridiculous.
We are
That's
not
why
like
we
that.
don't rent it.
Yep.
And we need to have just, you rent the room, no more. Because we don't want people at the board room table. Because there's no drinks and
No.
food allowed at that table. So they can just rent the whole dang room.
Yeah.
And no, the boardroom table's off limits to renters
If you have
anyway.
any
Unless they're
size
having a
shower,
board meeting.
we had to rent the whole room because
Yeah.
Well, you're going
there's
to
no
need
way
that.
our family would fit in that half
I don't think many people
by the
could.
kitchen.
No.
So you
Who's ever
basically
rented that
need the
half?
whole room.
Never
if you're going to
Library
rent
use
the community
it,
center.
or a meeting, we might
For
have a
meetings.
meeting in
Just
there.
the way
Yeah,
it
I
is.
don't think it's ever.
But at that point, it's easy to
we
split,
need
and
to-
it's
if
something
you
that's
run into
planned.
But the
that,
community
People
center,
rent it.
Yeah.
without rehashing prices, can be lowered.
The what?
The
Yes.
community center prices.
You can
Yeah.
make a
We can work on
recommendation and
that.
we look at those rates.
Next round.
Yeah.
One other thing I would like to see, I'll throw this out there, because this is so convoluted, can we make just resident, non-resident one fee instead of splitting it up?
No,
No?
just because.
This was a perk to our
Yeah, exactly.
taxpayers.
This is a
You
perk.
get this break because you pay taxes on this building.
You help pay the heat,
And
you
on
help
that
pay the
building.
electricity.
So then your non-resident comes over here from New London. No. When I go to the pool in New London, I
have to
pay
pay.
non-resident
Yeah.
fees.
Oh, you do?
That's just
Yes.
what it is.
Even if you have a
Yeah.
New London address, but you don't live in the city limits, you
Yes.
have to pay more in New
So
London.
this is not unheard of.
Oh, okay.
That's our perk to
Fair
our
enough.
residents.
So
Okay.
what would you
You
have
know.
for your non-resident full weekend fee? Did you come up with that?
Yeah.
Or-
It
Oh,
was,
we didn't want to do that yet, I'm sorry.
for that, it was just like $750 and then the $200 deposit. So it was a little less than what we normally would do. Because we normally have double. It's normally double. So whatever you rent, the non-resident and the resident gets a half of what the non-resident does.
750 for what? The
Well,
community center?
No, that was
No,
the
no,
opera
the-
house.
the
That was just
opera
me,
house.
just kind of.
I have 700 on what was on the original resolution that we deferred. I have 700, non-resident, 700, tax 35, deposit 200. But that could have changed. This was
I-
just a resolution we never acted on, so.
I might have changed these numbers for the resolution to kind of lower it
Okay.
as well, because it was high.
Okay.
Because this was my original numbers based off of what they would rent it for, actually, around.
I mean, I have-
500 to, yeah.
I have to admit, this building, I think, has a connection, and there are some people that look at this building and say, oh, it's just an old building, I'd rather the community center. But maybe the prices deter them from the community center. So if we make the prices appealing for both, fair prices for both, and if it's easier to clean the community center and it's easier to do that, they're still responsible for cleaning the community center, correct?
Yes.
Okay. The other thing is there a checklist here of
Yes.
what's required? Where is
Yeah,
that
we give that
checklist?
to the
It is
residents.
You give it to them?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's online too. That's what I
All
got.
right, all right. I was
It's
just
also
curious.
posted upstairs.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's kind of-
that, okay, because I thought of that the other day too when I was here. I'm like, maybe somebody just didn't know.
Does it say where everything is here for them to use?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, I haven't looked
It's
at it in a
pretty
long time.
dumbed down.
I think with the Opera House, just, can we,
Let's focus on one at a time, otherwise.
if you're
it's
looking
really-
at, if you're looking at somebody does an application to rent the Opera House, and you can clearly see, this is a weekend event. It's a weekend. Is that at your discretion? Is this at the administrator's discretion? Whose discretion?
Well, mine, no.
Public
Because I'm
Works?
not I would say the head of the Public Works or the administrator, because
So, but
I'm
if,
not really an official,
okay.
so.
And the goal is that we're not going to just classify them all as weddings, but if somebody's clearly renting it out for a baby shower, or they're renting it out for a funeral service, clearly that is not a weekend rental. They should, I know you don't want to talk prices, but can we at least do something so that we can have something?
Right.
Can I make this a suggestion? Because we could beat this up
I
all
know.
night. What I would like to see is, let's establish the guidelines first for both properties. He can take it back and work with these two gentlemen
On the numbers.
on the numbers and come up with some recommendations.
Sounds
Then
good.
when we come back and we see that this Opera House rented for a wedding must include Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and this is their suggested price, and then
Okay.
we can talk that.
Okay, that sounds like a great
That would be the
plan.
easiest way, because we're back and forth. We could be jumping from one bandwagon
All right.
to the other, and, you know, your idea of pricing might be different than mine.
So logistically, an event starts at what time on Friday and ends what time, midnight on Sunday, but what time on Friday? Because there could be
We do 5.
Sean here.
What I do is 5 to most that come in, because right now, the way it is, we have a 4-hour, and they want to come in at noon and then do their setup. But it's like then
Okay.
we have
What time is Sean done on Fridays?
5.
Okay. But
So-
he's cleaned
Out.
up, gone. That's
Out
the,
at
that's
5.
the question. If I'm renting it at 5 o'clock on
I'll be
Friday.
able to get in at 5
And
and have an open.
that is something that we have talked to them about.
No way. He's got an hour tear down of his equipment up there, minimum.
I know. I mean, I looked at his equipment the other day and I went, holy moly. So, guidelines. So let's give a fair time on a Friday, because we do have a regular renter right now.
Yes.
That changes, we can always change this, but let's say Friday is
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Does that give him enough time, do you think?
Yeah.
We should ask.
He knows it's going to happen, he'll have to have manpower.
If he's aware of something coming
Typically,
in,
his students will help him. It's a lot quicker when there's 2 compared, 6 of them compared to 2 of us.
If there's a little overlap, he's putting stuff away, people are bringing stuff in.
I get that. I just think that let's talk the guidelines. Friday at 6 PM till Sunday midnight. Somebody has till midnight on Sunday to get this place cleaned up.
I would do 6.
6 PM.
Fine.
The
That's,
same.
Yeah, same time frame.
Otherwise, people
Okay.
are going to wonder why lights are on here
Okay.
on Sunday night.
all right.
Plus, you got to give them the right amount of time to get people in here to look at it, clean it. You don't want them.
Well, they
That
don't come
happens
until
every
Monday.
morning.
Monday. Okay, so 6 PM Friday till 6 PM Sunday. Easy
Would
to
be a
remember.
weekend rental.
Yes,
For weddings
for big events.
or big events that would,
Determined by the administrator
Yes.
or
public
Public
partners.
Works
Yeah.
director.
So, but if it's not a big event, now what are we doing?
I'm having a memorial here, and I rented this for the whole full day, because 4 hours.
Doesn't seem like
I don't think 4 hours exists. I don't think a
people-
4-hour rental
yeah.
exists.
No, I don't think I
I'd
need
say
4 hours.
we get rid of the 4 hours for this building, because nobody's here for 4 hours unless it's legal.
No.
I would say that's what would make the most sense. The 4-hour thing has got to go.
It's got to
All
go.
right. So we're
Midnight
talking,
All
to
day or
midnight?
nothing.
Yeah.
Because
So-
technically, somebody,
how about,
if they're an
how
early
about 8
riser,
AM until
Oh, I say 6 a.m. typically to most people.
to 6 PM? Keep that same time.
I don't think you can do 6
For the full
because
day, no, it would be midnight.
I would do
6
midnight.
a.m.
midnight to midnight.
For you
I'm an
to
early
rental.
riser. I would absolutely come at 5 o'clock in the morning and start loading stuff in. I would absolutely. I'm one of those people that would do, if I'm awake and I can't sleep, I'm here loading stuff up if I'm renting it for the day. Midnight to midnight makes it clean.
Okay.
It also leaves out any confusion. So I'm renting it Sunday. I can't sneak in there Saturday night because it's
Yeah.
until midnight.
All right, so we'd,
People sneak in early. We
No
know
more
this. I know.
4-hour.
No more 4 hours. I think the 4 hours
It's
is
a
off.
one-day rental from 12 AM
Yeah, we have
to 12 PM.
Yep,
Are we gonna-
12:01.
days or work
Oh, yeah.
weekends.
we're going to have the kitchen, the ballroom, and both, right, for rentals?
See what?
Kitchen?
No,
No.
just the whole building.
Whole building.
Building.
But, like I said, for my memorial for my father-in-law, I'm not going to rent the whole building, just stay down here for 4 or 5 hours. Do I got to
Well,
rent the other?
you're already grandfathered in based on.
Yeah.
No, I'm just,
Payments.
in the future, if somebody's
Well, it's
using the
true.
kitchen.
You might only need this.
Because there could be an opportunity for revenue where we do have 2 different parties wanting it at the same time.
So,
I say we have 3 options, here, upstairs, or both. Because if somebody only wants to rent this, I want to start locking the upstairs. We don't need people running around, kids running around in the gym.
I think,
That's a good point.
If somebody rents,
Okay.
but I think then you should have all or just bottom.
Okay, here's the question though with locking the gym. Is that your elevator, due to ADA, has to go up there?
they can still go up. You can still come in the front door and come down.
Yeah.
We're just locking the gym.
Locking the gym, okay, I see what you mean, those glass doors,
And that
okay.
keeps shenanigans and stuff.
Okay,
from it.
that makes sense. Okay.
So for this building, you're talking a weekend event from 6 PM Friday to 6 PM Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
Or level event, either the lower or the upper, for a one-day rental
Mm-hmm.
from 12 AM to 12 PM? Is that correct?
12:01 a.m. to 12:01
What are
Yeah.
you thinking?
a.m. PM is noon.
I just don't think, I don't
Yeah.
think that this facility should be split at all. Because if you do that, then I'm just gonna rent the gym one day for whatever I'm doing, a birthday party. And I'm gonna do a small birthday party that day. we don't know if they're going to be in on Friday or anything else, or if they're going to use the second
What the
floor.
heck is that?
That's the glass over here shaking.
From what?
The
Exercise.
It's
equipment.
why I spent 2 hours the other day picking stuff up out of the Historical Society cabinets.
It's gotten better.
I'm like,
Most of
oh
it's
no!
filled.
It is what it is. It just, there's so much movement. It shakes.
So you're talking,
I say we just roll the dice on that. I understand what you're saying. We'll offer upstairs and downstairs as separate rentals,
Or the
or
whole
both, depending on what they're doing.
So different price structures.
But that's not, that's pretty much the same thing as what we have here.
Although we're saying, right, it's all weekend if you do the whole.
If you have a wedding or a large
It has to be the
event.
whole thing.
Yeah.
yeah, this 4-hour column is gone, so you're talking full day upstairs.
Full day gym, full day kitchen, and full day entire
We're
facility.
defining, we're saying 12:01 a.m. to 12 midnight. I get that. I get where you're going with this. People are just going to do one or the other, and they're still going to use the full facility.
Well, they
What I was thinking is
But-
combining them and then lowering the price overall so that it's for the whole facility, let's say it would just be $150 for the whole facility for a full day if you're a resident. Rather than, I wouldn't combine these numbers and say that it's $250 for the resident because they're getting the top and bottom floor. I think the bottom floor is a little too much money right now. I would, in general, and I think the top floor combined with it should be, between 150 and 175.
I can hear the gears ticking over here. I can hear her. I can watch you.
Well, we got
Yeah.
time to think on that.
Think on that, maybe different price structures, and then we can look at, okay, so this is, what if we did it this way? I think the 4-hour thing is,
Goes away.
I think that's circus.
Come on.
It's a circus.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, sorry.
And then
no, that's all right.
whole facilities for the community center, correct?
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
the whole room
Yeah.
rather
Yep.
than, or the
And
combined
they're,
room.
and they're 1 hour and 4 hours.
And I think maybe,
As well, unless it's a nonprofit group or something.
I think-
That's typically what we've been doing, so.
What do you mean?
So like, if you have a civic meeting there, first of all, I'm not gonna charge you, and you can book it for whenever you want at the community center.
There's not a lot of them.
This is pretty much the price structure only happens on the weekends,
Right.
and it's only for baby showers or bridal showers is the only thing we really booked there at all.
So here you have a category,
Nonprofit,
groups not locally based.
correct.
What happens with the Hortonville Civic Association, which is locally based?
It's free,
Free.
correct. And
You're allowing
I,
the administrator some leeway to determine that, too.
Yeah, because of if it benefits the community, even though like Outagamie County does ADRC stuff there, we're going to give it to free because it benefits our local
okay,
community.
all right, that's cool.
See, I'm wondering that, but like I brought up before at our senior activities meeting, when David said we could do things free there, in the past, that was not allowed because we tried to have the foot care clinic there. And technically, yeah, the people have to pay, but it's not a for-profit group. They're just paying for the supplies. So, but that was denied
Right.
at the time. So we had to make other arrangements. It's done at Pinewood. So somewhere along the line, we should probably be pretty clear on.
Well, that's the only
What that
exception.
is.
If it's free to you, unless you're charging a fee, is what
Right.
it's written
Then
as
it's
right now.
not free.
But but it was just, I don't know. It didn't sit well with us because it was for the elderly people. They're paying for the foot
Yeah,
care
I remember
supplies.
that.
And it was just kind of.
I recall that too.
Yeah, and it was,
Well, that board member is no longer,
could that,
That what?
it's all
he's
okay.
not on the
It
board.
could still go to the board for approval.
Exceptional.
I think it absolutely could go to the board for approval, because I know if I had heard that, it would have
We've
been,
waived these before.
yeah, I would think that should have been waived.
Okay, well, we
That's what it is.
may come with that at some point because now they're down to every other month clinic. But I guess
If the fee
if it-
just
you know,
covers
if it's-
cost,
it did.
Yeah.
The people paid for the
Then it's not really-
for the foot
Well, no
care
different
supplies.
than Sean. This was kind of a unique situation. He wanted it for certain times of the day. his rent is based on what he makes, I think there's always room for an exception.
Yeah, and that's typically what we do with
And it
anyone
has
who
to-
wants to kind of invest with us.
I mean, I love the
and
idea that we're
rent.
going to see it used more.
We
That's
kind of-
great. That's
Yeah,
what it is for.
absolutely.
David kind of goes through and kind of thinks what's the best for both of us.
Yep. I think, and if
We
that's a
allow the
board thing,
administrator to determine nonprofit rates, or if
Right.
there are any.
well,
I think
who
there-
denied you the last time?
This is very complicated.
Yeah.
It is.
The board.
Yeah, it is.
Board.
Does the community center ever, how often does it get, is by the hour?
How many years?
Never.
ago it was?
The only time I've ever seen it rented,
Because it would set a precedent.
we've rented it actually 3 times more this year, and our number is 3 rentals. And they've always rented the full day for the activity room.
We should clean that up and get rid of the 1
I
hour.
would get rid of the 1
Yeah, who
hour.
would
get rid of the-
I would honestly get rid of, I would just have the combined
We
room
did that
all
already.
together.
We
Yep.
talked about that.
Yep.
That's
Okay.
done.
Yeah.
So let them take
Okay.
that back. I don't want to
Okay.
beat this up.
Yep.
I want to watch the game.
Is this,
So let them take that back. Then we'll come back, let them establish some guidelines on pricing, and we'll discuss that next meeting, okay?
all right. Eventually, you would be nice
How
to,
about you, Chief? Good. Update on the donated food heating rack at the Opera House.
That's you.
Any update on that?
I'll take that. Yeah, it's, since that unit, we cannot find parts for that unit. It's, I wouldn't say it's old, but there are
It's
no
old.
parts made for that anymore. So the closest thing we can do,
What part?
the cabinet,
Cover?
yeah.
Well, what if we went to Thompson Metals, gave them the...
I know, but then we're getting into, Thompson Metals, we're getting into the hundreds of dollars, and to have them make something up.
Okay, what if I went to,
Well, that'd be a different story.
all right,
But for us to do it, yeah, Thompson Metals, they charge us.
I'm sure they did.
But yeah, if you could get us some metal, then Chris could reskin it. It's still an older unit. We're not,
Can we do it in 3 pieces instead of 1?
frankly, it comes down to time too. Chris hasn't had time. Should we just budget for one next year and get a brand new one? They're only like $1,000. Instead of putting in, time and
are
effort
they
into.
a newer and more energy efficient when we're talking
probably.
power?
Then that might be.
Well,
We're talking
to a point.
power usage here, because I know even a new refrigerator
This
is.
is big. This is like a rolling refrigerator.
Well,
Yeah, it's
but
big.
It's 125 volt, 2-stage,
It's only in use when you need it.
or is it 208?
It's not on
Well,
constant,
they make them
right?
both.
It's a dry storage facility.
But you're only going to get so many therms out of a unit of electricity. They can only get so efficient. So refrigerators with the motors and all that,
Yeah.
then you can get efficiency. But when you're talking heat, you're only going to get so much heat out of what electricity you put in. That's static. So
Well, you're
I think
still-
you look at that for getting us some sheet metal or something.
I'll-
And if we can't go that route, then we still got time. Maybe we'll put it in the budget and just get one. Because it would be nice. We've had some interest from people. Especially if it had the rack trays, which yours
Right,
does.
which okay.
If we can get some decent stock
Okay,
metal.
here's the deal. Have Chris give me some measurements.
Okay,
And what I'll do is I'll go to Darwin's cell.
all right.
I'm not going to Tom because he doesn't return my phone calls.
Darwin still hasn't got us a,
I know that. Oh, that's another issue I'll deal with. I dealt with that before I left.
Is there a way that we can get like a list of what equipment is in there and available to catering companies, so that when you're trying to rent it, maybe for a wedding, somebody has a question,
That's a good idea.
somebody could say, and by the way, this is what's equipped in the
Available,
kitchen. As a caterer, wouldn't you like to know ahead of time what's in a kitchen?
Well, yeah, we always do. We always go out and look at the kitchen first before we go do a job.
there's a company in Appleton that services and sells that equipment. I reached out and asked them to come out here and inspect the ovens, and they never did.
I know they don't.
One of the ovens is extremely old. I thought about pulling that oven out and putting that heating cabinet there. So we're either going to have to spend money on having a professional come out and inspect that oven, recertify it in my book, or do we just yank it out of there and put a heating cabinet
How
in that
often do you
spot?
use the ovens, Peter?
Let me,
How often do you use those ovens as a caterer?
those ovens? I think maybe, of the maybe half a dozen times we're here, probably use them twice.
I don't think they're used that often. I don't think the ovens are
Both
used that
ovens at
much.
the same time?
Yeah. Because we had a lot of hors d'oeuvres.
That depends,
They're
though, if you're
used-
looking from a
they're used
cafeteria or a shower or whatever, it's
Yeah.
really different.
But with the heating cabinet, you can cook some
People
orders.
bring in,
ahead of
ahead of time
time.
to put it in the heating cabinet,
Yeah.
you know? That's a big
That's a
deal.
holding cabinet. So what we could do, and this is the issue we have, there's nothing in that kitchen where we can do prep on premise, bring it over in the cabinets, heating cabinets, those plastic ones, and stick it in that warming thing. We can't do it because there's nothing there. That cabinet has got where you put full-size pans or half-sheet pans in, and it'll hold it at temperature for
Yeah.
up to 4 to 6 hours.
Imagine showing up at a baby
What
shower,
do they use
it's
for,
already something
Nathan?
hot.
You started to say.
They're used for the pie bake for
Yeah.
the American
Oh,
Legion.
Legion.
Yeah.
They use
A lot of
both of
times.
them
And Mesco's.
for
That's the only
that.
time we fire it up.
And then Thanksgiving.
There's a family that,
Rents every year.
Yep.
The McNichols.
yep, the Nichols family rents this every year for
And then
Thanksgiving.
we've used both of them, I want to say at
Okay.
least 2 or 3 times.
Just curious.
Yeah.
you know.
Between you and the McNichols, they know more about those ovens than
Yeah.
the Polish does.
Yeah, they
Yeah, we
do.
Because they're the only ones that ever use them.
Believe me.
And the
Yeah.
Legion, huh?
You know, when Jane and I got married, and we had our little get-together here the day after the actual wedding, my brother John was down here using both of those, and we were pumping out hors d'oeuvres like couldn't keep up, you know. But anyway, that was the only time we used it. Okay, so I will make a note that I will reach out to, you have Chris give me the measurements, I'll reach out to Darwin,
Okay.
and we'll just do steel, aluminum.
Yeah, it doesn't. Just something to make it look pretty.
Okay. Possibility of provisions and placement of a free food kiosk.
I can start with where this started.
Yeah, let me just
You-
refer,
Yeah, I know you, yeah.
and then with that, we can probably encompass number 6 too, because these emails are back and forth between Natalie Vanderbilt, who's our rep for this area for food service for Allegheny County. And I've got this laid out here. I reached out to her and asked her if she knew anything about it. She really didn't. I had never heard of it until Julie brought it up. And my concern was, first of all, where's it going to be? Who's in charge of it? And what liabilities
Yeah.
are we going to encompass?
There's one at the YMCA, somebody told me. They told me that in Greenville. There's one of these.
They're patterned after the Little Free Library, the
Right.
book.
They're patterned
I
after
just
that.
saw a big thing on CBS Sunday Morning where
It
it was
was
set
on
up in
there,
in a
But it was
neighborhood.
In a neighborhood,
Yeah.
they've done it.
And this is how this started. It was somebody on East Main Street who has an in-home daycare and saw that there was a need for school supplies and possibly some food pantry items
Here?
in Hortonville.
Okay.
And she had inquired actually on an app called Nextdoor. I don't know if anyone has that here. She had inquired about a school supply kiosk, and then we started talking about food. And in discussion with her, and she couldn't be here this evening, but in discussion and inquiring about more in the community, I'm finding that we have people that can't utilize the food pantry in Dale because they can't drive.
Oh,
But they deliver.
But yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes in a pinch, there's nothing there. There's not much there. So the question was, could we house something that would be small? And when I say small, like a free little library, maybe doubled. So something small, shallow, so it's not super deep, that could hold some basic canned items, some just non-perishable food items. The question came, well, nobody can put that in their front yard because how are they going to do that with the weather?
right.
And I know a long time ago, and Jeannie, you might remember, we were approached about doing a free little pantry. And it was like a blip at one meeting, and I couldn't find the meeting that it was talked about. And it was just, it was part of the administrator's report that Diane was approached about it, and we just never did anything. And I don't remember where it ever went. But I think something extremely small, and I get with the whole food thing. I grew up in the food business. My parents, I know meat inspectors, food inspectors, I get all that. But I think it started out as a school supply pantry, and it turned into a food pantry because we're finding out that there's people in the community that don't have access to transportation or their delivery. Their food's run out until their next delivery.
Well, the issues you have are placement, number one. You can't put it in here because this building's locked up. You can't put it in the community center because they wouldn't have access after hours or on weekends.
The PD door is always open.
Okay, well, then you have to have somebody that's got to maintain it.
I know.
And if you read through this stuff,
You read it. I know.
Outagamie County Health Department does not regulate this. They don't inspect these things. Somebody has to inspect them to make sure that the food's not outdated. Some kids haven't come through and tampered with the items or stuck garbage and stuff in there. She said that's, you read
Yeah,
this.
I did. I read it when we were waiting. So the question was, could the PD vestibule be used because that's open 24/7, 365 because of the safe room?
But they're not always there.
No,
Night
that
shift.
vestibule. Like the,
You mean like put it right next to the?
in the airlock. Like where there's like agendas and things on the,
Well, we've got a drop off for medicines. You're thinking just like right next to it. We could do-
yeah. And it's not, I'm not saying, and the suggestion was not anything big, and I understand food inspection, Peter. I mean, you know, I
Yeah.
grew up in the food business. I get that. We have people that utilize our library, and I was learning too that there's people that have admitted to using the libraries simply to charge their phones because they're worried about their electric bill. I think if they're familiar with that building, then they're familiar with the location, they can walk there. Not saying that that's the final answer, but I think you have the drug drop-off, you have an AED that's available 24/7. Could there be something small that has, could there be a non-for-profit group that picks up the administrative, checking it weekly, making sure?
Actually, it'd have to be more than weekly.
I mean,
You never know who's going to come in there at night, and tamper with it. You don't know.
See-
Here's the other issue, too. You just mentioned a lot of these people don't have a way to get to the food pantry. How are they going to get up there if they live on South Nash Street? How are
they
they going
walk. They walk by my house.
And they go to the library. I
A
think,
lot.
yeah. And I think.
During the wintertime?
Oh, yeah. And if you assume that,
For warm.
if you saw that thing on TV, there was
I
a
did.
pantry and it was in a very impoverished neighborhood. And they're putting and taking.
It
People
was
are
in
giving.
Detroit, I think, wasn't it?
St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, St.
Yeah,
Paul.
so I think we have to think of the good of people once in a while and just say, can we try it? It's pretty,
If it
there's
becomes a
traffic
problem, it
there.
gets-
You're in charge of the seniors program. What if you brought this to them? What if,
It isn't just seniors that need this food. It
It's-
would be
Families and,
families. And the problem with this is, when you go to the food pantry, you fill out paperwork. It is verified that you really do
Do need it,
need
yeah.
this food, okay? We have no way of controlling that, and it can be abused.
so how do we get the food to
People
put in
that
this?
don't need it would maybe be taking it. And I don't mean to be a Debbie
Oh,
Downer,
yeah, see, I know.
but that is what happens in this world of greed.
But that's the risk I'm willing to take.
is that a terrible thing if somebody took a box of cereal that,
Box
I
of
guess I think
macaroni,
of the
they
big
empty it right
picture.
now.
Yeah, what
You
about
know-
coming in the
And I
library?
do know some families that would
That's
do
mostly,
it.
people come up to the
You bring a
library.
bag
In
and
this
empty,
village.
and
Oh.
empty house.
Putting it at the
Okay,
library?
but along with that,
I don't know
Jeannie,
if there's
there's
room in
people
the
who
library.
We don't need a lot of
who
room.
need it, but they won't fill out an application because their pride is holding them back too. So,
The other thing I come back to, guys, we have a food service here that has less than one person using it per day. And that's for a cooked meal served to you on a platter. And we don't have anybody taking advantage of that. If they can walk here, or they can walk to the village hall, then why would they go get a box good if they
That's for
prepare?
elderly, though. Elderly and disabled. Families
Okay, I
can't
mean,
come to the
I hate
food.
the stereotype, but I mean, it's, unfortunately, those are the people I think that are going to be grabbing from this box of goodies.
Yeah.
Boy, I've worked in social services all my life, and I think there's always going to be abusive systems. There's abuse at the corporate level, my God. CEOs are robbing from
there's a lot
companies.
of abuse at administrative and
I
corporate
think,
levels.
I would agree, we can take a risk and just say, hey, I think there's people in our community that need help. And just,
So do you
yeah,
want to take this project on?
I'd be glad to do it with someone
I'll help.
and try
How
to
about the
figure it
two of you?
out.
I have this other individual who is a Hortonville resident, and she was the one who initially had brought this up.
Where are you
And
going to put it?
It'd be nice to do it somewhere in a controlled setting, whether that be next to the drug drop box or in the vestibule, somewhere. My fear with the vestibule is that I don't want it to block any. I looked at the heat registers in there.
That would be a bad spot. I
It would be a
recommend
bad
if you're going to do it either in the library or next to the drug drop,
Yeah,
but not in the vestibule for the
yeah,
PD.
yeah.
That's
Next to the drug drop, AED, because that's open 20, and I understand that there's people that at 2 in the morning could absolutely go in there and take everything that's in that box.
Does it have to be 24/7? I mean, this sounds really callous, but if I had no food in my house, I think I'd know it before the moment before
Yeah, I
I
know.
had to get
I get it.
right? So
Being anonymous, I think, is part of it too. It's the
I
pride.
put it in the library because the people, that's the best spot.
I don't know
But
where in the
that's locked
library it
down.
would go, though.
Yeah, but that's the
the
only time we get
shortest-
people up there is the
There's the
library.
shortest space now,
If
though.
you're walking to the library and you're so poor that you need to use the library's electricity, then you go to the library, you're there. So
Yeah.
now take a couple cans of food.
There's no
if you
stigma.
need.
You're already there. You're not standing out. It's not like you're going in.
You know,
Okay, where do we
Is this
get
something,
the
do you
food?
want me to go to the library board and request this? Is this a library board thing? Because I don't think
Yeah.
this
I think
committee.
we should look at different locations and talk about that. There's
Just
not a
stop
lot of
up there
extra
someday.
space in the library.
But if we're talking something we can mount on the wall or something like that, let's look first. We'll look around.
So where do we get the food? David said do a community-wide food drive?
We don't, I think
Well-
initially you put food in there, but it's also, that there's people that can donate.
There's people that, and that's what I got too from this news thing.
Right.
People
Would
that
drop
were
off.
also on the poverty level that were also giving as well as taking.
Like the free little libraries.
So, yeah.
I know they start out with some books in it. I've never seen an empty free little library.
Yeah.
I've never seen an empty one
You-
because people are just
you
constantly
take and you
taking and,
give.
yeah, take and
that's something
give.
the schools can be involved with too, doing a drive at the school.
Actually, I
collect or something.
was talking to Tom Ellenbecker tonight about to the agenda tonight because he asked what I had going on tonight. He's the principal at the high school, and I mentioned this, and he actually said that in Mishicot, they did a free little pantry at the elementary school, and they also did a clothes closet because they saw a need. Absolutely, this could go to the
backpacks.
schools.
Yeah.
But then you're also asking, the schools are so secure at this point that I'm not sure there's a safe place in the schools in order to get in.
No,
you
I'm saying for
to
the
be-
food provision.
Oh,
For
food drive.
For a food drive.
Oh, food drive.
So
Oh, yes,
using
absolutely.
the schools to help provide replenishment, because it's going to fail if you have somebody going in there with a grocery bag
Nope.
and emptying it and no one's putting
Now
it
I
in,
get you.
right?
I get you, Shauna. No, I think there's a lot of groups out there. I think there's youth groups out there that are looking for something. Okay, do a small food drive, and this could be something in conjunction.
I think there'll be plenty of
Something for the
donations.
Halloween party, bring a canned good
Yep,
and it can go
yep.
to
Yep.
whatever.
And no
something
one
like
has
that.
room to store anything. I understand
I was just
that.
gonna
The
say
storage
storage.
is a mess. That's not the issue. I think if we just had something to start out with, I think eventually, you would see food rotate in there. And if it fails, it fails. But I think if we don't
So-
try.
So do you have a little box built already, or do you have something available?
I'm thinking maybe we could talk to the high school. Polar Bear Enterprise might build something for that.
Yes.
It would be nice metal.
Okay. We'll meet again. See how it goes. When do you want to start doing this?
Before winter, would be nice. Would be nice.
Next
So can we,
couple of months?
so like another public facilities meeting,
Report back.
could we like do and schedule it tonight so that we kind of know when we're doing the next
Yeah, I
one?
think we should, because these guys want to work on the rental issues.
Okay, because we kind of did 5 and 6 at the same time, right? On the agenda here?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we could do another public facilities meeting, that we can catch up about the rent on the community center and Opera House.
Yep.
And then we can talk again, maybe that'll give us a chance to contact Polar Bear Enterprise and see what we can, maybe contact other communities. I can even ask Tom Ellenbecker how they did at the school.
Another month from now?
Yeah, October, the first board meeting is the 3rd. Could we do it before the 3rd? So that if we need any board approval on
let's see.
anything?
5:30.
Which should be a
on the third.
Wednesday,
Wednesday, the 2nd.
the 2nd. Yeah, we could do that.
Or you're talking about, okay, I see what you mean, the night before.
Yep, so that if we have to bring something to the board, but the problem is we wouldn't be on the agenda. What potential items would we have for the agenda that we should make sure we don't, like, what would we have on our public facilities?
Agenda, because it's a committee report. All you have to do is make a motion to approve the
Yeah.
committee report.
Even if it's just,
It's on the consent agenda.
okay, all right.
Would that include new rates for the?
That's what I'm worried about, is like the rates.
Oh, would we?
That's a board thing.
Yeah,
Well,
Maybe we
technically
should try
not,
the week
because
before
the
then.
board will take the recommendation from a committee. That is the reason you have committees. A board meeting should not have any discussion.
So if the committee met, then they could make a recommendation if they met. Okay, so if we meet,
Correct.
we can make a recommendation.
then we should do it before the 2nd.
We've used the village boards as discussionary means because we haven't had committee meetings.
Right.
Okay.
For install and use committees, that's where you do your discussing.
And that saves a lot of time at the
Village
board
boards
level.
should be
Really fast.
Yes,
Okay, so
Yes,
what's
yes, no,
what's
yes.
the Wednesday,
25th?
the 25th.
25th?
3 weeks from tonight.
Yeah, is that enough time? That's enough time for you guys.
I think
Is that
so.
enough time for you guys?
Yeah, what time is a good time for everybody?
5:30?
Was that okay for you, Shauna, getting here at 5:30?
Is that okay? But we'll
Pat.
hold it up at the community center, not here. Oh, wait.
Is it?
Is it-
I don't know.
Is that,
Courtney?
I'll have to see. I don't have it on my phone for
Okay.
We could put it on the agenda.
reason.
like we did for
But
the-
yeah,
So-
hopefully the right date.
Yeah, what the other question, while we're talking about that is what's at the community center or Opera House, is there a calendar online that can be accessed? So like, if I want to know if the community center's booked, how would I know?
you?
I would have to call you.
Are you talking for you or for
For anyone.
a
Anyone.
citizen? No. And the issue that I have available, I could do it. The issue becomes information.
Could it, okay. So could it just be like,
What do you mean information?
So right now, we use it
Privacy.
in-house because we have contact information so that if he has to call in a guy, someone from the Public Works can look on that
Yeah.
and figure out the number and the contact for the person that was there the night before.
Right. Is there something we can create that just says
Busy.
available, not
Busy.
gray or white, gray or white?
I can look into it.
that'd be nice,
It'd be
because.
like a second calendar, doubling our efforts. So-
I'm
Or
already-
no,
I'm already-
I'm just saying we have to
admin,
keep,
admin
I'm already
access
doing it
versus
for
view access.
the
There's,
seniors.
right now we use free Google Calendar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but can you mark it as busy? And like we have, right, so at work, I can mark something as private on a Google Calendar, private versus public. So only the people that are
That's both.
available to see public or private can see private, and those that are public can see
Yeah, I can do
just
it.
busy.
It's
why I'm bringing this up is because, for example, if, I'm not saying me, but if I'm at someone's house trying to book a party or book a meeting, I'm trying to book a baby shower, well, it's Saturday night, well, I can't call the village till Monday. Wouldn't it be cool if we had that available? They could say, well, I think this date's available at that community center.
And I already have a whole page,
Okay.
couple pages planned.
Okay.
I already have pretty much built in our website.
Okay.
That I'm waiting for pretty much this
Okay.
information to finally get done. Because
Okay.
once that's all updated, it'll be a lot easier to put that on.
That would be
And our
awesome.
old pricing structure.
Because here we're
Yeah.
scheduling this now, and I'm just going to put down community center because that's where I assume we're going to be. But that could change, and you could also email all of us and say both facilities are being used.
I think the community center's good because court's the first week of the month.
Okay.
Yeah.
At work, on Google, you can put, like we have our conference rooms are an email address, location. So if it's booked, it shows. It doesn't have to say what it is. It just says booked or not.
Nathan can figure it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So I want to thank you all, especially these other 3 gentlemen here, because I was afraid I'd be the only male attending tonight.
Which makes you just a better meal.
Would have been outnumbered.
It's funny how we all sit on one side.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
I say
Anyway.
count first. Does that count?
So, can you get me the minutes? You're going to type these up, right?
We should find a time
And
to
then I
get
sign
together.
off?
Yes,
You
we
want
should.
to?
And then put the new date for the next meeting on there, too.
Yep.
All right. Any other discussion? Nothing else?
Julie and I are just finding a time that we can meet
Okay.
about the
Pantry. And it may include that other individual, so let me get a hold of her and find out when she's available. She runs an in-home daycare.
Okay, why don't you let me know then?
Yeah,
Probably be in the evening.
Thank you.
I'm
Yep,
thinking.
thank you.
it's worth a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Motion.
So is
All in
this-
favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Are we looking